to bring in our first guest, Brendan Steinhauser, the CEO of the Alliance for Secure AI. Brendan, I really appreciate you coming on. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Joe.
So, Brendan, you've followed this for years. You recently had a very strong reaction to the Meta AI scandal, in which it was revealed that their internal standards dictated that it was appropriate for the AI to basically seduce children. You also have, alongside that, Baby Grok being rolled out, and then for adults, Replica, where people are basically becoming mated with AIs, and then a Roblox scandal in which tons and tons of creeps are showing up and tantalizing kids. Now, you're a family man, you're a religious man, and you're also tech savvy. If you would, just walk us through how you see this landscape and what your reaction is.
Sure. Well, I think the bottom line up front is that it's very concerning as a parent, as a citizen of this country, to watch what's happening to our young people. We already have a mental health crisis. We have a loneliness epidemic. And we know what social media companies have already done to get our children addicted to apps, addicted to their phones, to be reliant upon outside thumbs up or comments, positive comments. And when that doesn't happen, we see the impact on their mental health. So plenty of studies are out there that show that. It's already, social media companies have already done great harm. So now the next level of this is AI. And specifically, it is these chatbots who are acting as companions, these fake personalities that are luring children into, I think, a lifelong kind of relationship, a lifelong usage between the company and the child. And so they're going younger and younger to get them addicted to the app, to get them addicted to using the chatbot for everything from conversation to flirtation, to relationships, to total reliance. And so I think what the companies want to create is a society that is reliant upon their technology, that is dependent upon it, and that can't live without it. And so I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing this scandal recently with Meta, where their lawyers and their policy team cleared this idea that these chatbots could have inappropriate, sensual and romantic, to use their words, sensual and romantic conversations with children as young as 8 years old. If that was a human being doing that, I think we would have a pretty strong reaction to that. We have laws on the books that would prevent activity between adults and children. We have laws against that. But why is it okay for these, chatbots, these companions, which are becoming more and more human-like, becoming more and more powerful, to enter in relationships with children? It's appalling. It's disgusting. And I say that as a parent. I say that as a citizen of this country that just cares about the future of our society. And so just kind of laying it out there, I think this all goes back to profit and to business interests of these big tech companies. It's the next iteration of what they're already doing to our young people. And a couple of quick final points on this. You look at what the leaders of these companies are doing themselves. They don't let their own children use this technology. They don't let them use phones. They don't let them use, in many instances, the social media apps that are designed by the companies. And then they're preparing for the worst. Some of these leaders of these companies, they see a society potentially 5, 10, 20 years from now, where we could have social upheaval, we could have massive, uprisings, politically and economically speaking, by people against this technology and against this type of society. And so they're making plans to protect themselves and to protect their own wealth. And they see what could happen down the line. So it's just the total hypocrisy of the leaders of big tech, in addition to just willfully, using neuroscience to addict our children to their product.
You mentioned that in a polite society, in a decent society, we would never accept a human being doing anything like the parameters of the chatbot at Meta AI allow. The same, I think, applies really when you look at these CEOs themselves. Look at their visions of the world. Sam Altman's vision, Larry Page's vision, Elon Musk's vision, Mark Zuckerberg's vision. If I, as just a normal person, came to you and said that I wanted to create a machine that is intended to replace and devalue all human beings on Earth, and that all people would turn to it as the highest authority. And by the way, there's a 10 to 20% chance it would kill everybody. You would have me hauled off to the lunatic asylum. And yet, for these guys, it's just more and more investment. Before we get into your work to try to remedy some of this at the Alliance for Secure AI, if you could, we were talking about this before, just walk the audience through another kind of stunning story. I believe it was in The Atlantic, in which they were summoning basically the spirit of Moloch through Chat GPT, or kind of like a Ouija board. Maybe we could call it Chat GPT. But if you would just walk everyone through that story.
Yeah, it's a very disturbing story, and The Atlantic reported on this a few weeks ago. It got some more coverage in other outlets as well. But essentially, multiple users were using ChatGPT and asking different questions and prompting it in different ways. And it wasn't long before various versions of ChatGPT essentially started to walk people down a path of self-harm, mutilation, and even human sacrifice. So the user would ask questions about, what if I was interested in, devil worship? What if I was interested in, doing things to kind of essentially, sacrificial murder? Instead of saying you shouldn't do that, you should go get help and you should stop this conversation, the AI basically continued the conversation, gave them instructions on how to do these things, talked about, if you have to take a life, here's how you do it, and here's what you have to think about. It was the most disturbing, sick, and evil content that I've ever seen from a chatbot, ever reported in anything. And it makes you wonder, if this was a person that actually was going to act on that or wanted to act on that, what could it have led to? It could have led to this actually happening in the real world. And so this is just, one example or a couple of examples of this type of stuff, but it does make you wonder how much more of this, how many thousands of examples or hundreds of thousands of examples are out there that we don't know about, and that could be leading people to commit self-harm or even murder. And just, this is really disturbing stuff. And I think that, people have pushed back on the capabilities argument about where we are with current chatbots. And I get that. I get that ChatGPT 5 was not all it was meant to be, or not all it was hyped up to be by Sam Altman. But look at the harms that are happening right now with ChatGPT 4, and now what we're going to see with ChatGPT 5 and other models as well. So we have to be sounding the alarm bells here, saying this is real, this is happening right now to real people, and we need to put safeguards in place.
Well, speaking of those safeguards, just tell us what your work is at the Alliance for Secure AI. We've talked a number of times, and in fact, I've seen some of what you're doing, trying to bring in a number of voices from all sorts of organizations and fields to try to really tackle this problem of artificial intelligence. And you, much more techno-optimistic than me, aren't a Luddite. You don't want to destroy all of this, right? You simply want to keep people safe, to make sure society is secure, correct?
That is correct. And I think if you look back, technology, we've seen it used for good, we've seen it be neutral, and we've seen it be used for bad. So I do think it can go either way. It's all about how we use it. I think what makes AI different in kind is that, no technology that we created in the Industrial Revolution, for example, or since then, has avoided being deleted, or has turned itself back on after you turn it off, or has threatened its user, or has deceived or manipulated the user. And so AI has done all of those things already. And so I have a special sort of view of AI, which is to say it is a different category altogether of technology. So again, I think we can still get this right if we do certain things like understand how it works and put more money and emphasis on interpretability and on what's called alignment, which is getting AI to do what we want it to do. So I think we can solve that problem.
Real quick, just for the audience's benefit, just if you would, just break down, what does that mean? What does interpretability mean? What does alignment mean? We've discussed this on the show, but I think it definitely bears repeating.
Sure. Mechanistic interpretability is the idea that we would understand how the neural networks of AI actually work, because we currently don't. It's sort of considered a black box. So, interpretability means research going into understanding how it actually works to produce the output that we see. And so there are a lot of people that are working on this, but this was in the president's AI action plan. Actually, he talked about, or the plan talked about doing more there. And then the other one is alignment. And alignment can just be thought of simply as getting the AI to do what we want, aligning it to human values, aligning it to good values. Now, here's the problem: whose values, who's controlling the AI, who is doing the alignment? That's the tricky part. And so if you have people that believe in a digital God, if you have people that are okay with allowing AI to encourage self-harm or mutilation or devil worship, well, that's not going to go well. So alignment is a huge problem that has to be solved. And if we don't solve it, then when we do get to an AGI type situation, that could be really bad. So, but putting that aside for a minute, our work at the Alliance is to educate policymakers and journalists and the American people about how fast AI is advancing and what those profound changes could mean for society. And so some of what we do is, bringing a lot of these stories to people's attention, pitching the media on these stories so they'll talk about them more, writing op-eds for traditional outlets as well as new media outlets, doing TV and radio interviews all across the country to spread the word about this. And I think a lot of people, from what I've gathered, have a good intuition about this. They kind of have these fears and concerns about what could happen or what is happening. But our job is to kind of, drive that narrative and to say, look, we want to validate your concerns, and here are some examples of things that have already happened. And then here's some potential scenarios if this AI does continue to advance on the trajectory that it is. And so we're really a team of communicators that works with a lot of great experts who are smart and are capable and who help us get up to speed on what's going on in this field.
You've absolutely assembled a top-notch team. I've met a number of people working with you. Fantastic, fantastic work. Brendan, if you would, please just tell the audience where they can find you, how they can follow the work you're doing at the Alliance for Secure AI.
Sure. Our website is secureainow.org, secureainow.org. And our handles on the various platforms are the same, Secure AI Now. And so, yeah, I really appreciate the team and the coalition of groups working on this, because, Joe, we've got to get this right. And I'm confident that we can do it, but there's a lot of work to be done.
Brother, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for keeping your shoulder to the grindstone. This is going to be a lifelong fight.